Stop scrolling. Ever wondered how a teenager with a slingshot became the ultimate underdog legend? Hey there, Bible buffs, history lovers, and trivia champions. Welcome back to Bible Quiz Channel, where we dive deep into the Word of God and have a little fun along the way. Today, we're diving into the wildest showdown in Bible history, David versus Goliath. Stick around for 30 mind-blowing questions that will make you laugh, think, and maybe even say, "Wait, that's in the Bible." Smash that like button, comment your score, and subscribe for more epic Bible quizzes every week. Let's get started.
Question 1. What snack did David not bring to the battlefield? A. Bread. B. Cheese. C. Raisins. D. A Starbucks latte. The correct answer is D. A Starbucks latte. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verses 17 to 18. The text is, "And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge." Here is the explanation. David shows up like ancient DoorDash: parched corn, roasted grain, 10 loaves, and 10 cheeses. Food delivery? Check. Battle plan? Not exactly. The text lists bread and cheese, but raisins and lattes are nowhere in sight. Starbucks arrived about 3,000 years too late. This detail grounds David as a dutiful son sent on an errand, not a drafted soldier. The irony is delicious. The guy delivering snacks becomes Israel's giant slayer. It's a narrative pivot from ordinary obedience to extraordinary courage, highlighting how faith can repurpose everyday errands into legendary moments. Question 2. How tall was Goliath according to the Bible? A. 6 feet. B. 9 feet 9 inches. C. 12 feet. D. Taller than Shaquille O'Neal on stilts. The correct answer is B. 9 feet 9 inches. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 4. The text is, "And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span." Here is the explanation. A cubit is roughly 18 inches and a span about 9 inches, placing Goliath around 9 feet 9 inches. He's the original poster boy for intimidation by scale. Ancient audiences would immediately grasp the mismatch between a shepherd youth and a colossal warrior. The story leverages this exaggeration of physical threat to magnify the supremacy of divine help over human strength. David's faith versus Goliath's mass. Also, yes, Goliath would be terrifying in the paint. Imagine a center who never needed to jump. Question 3. What weapon did David use to defeat Goliath? A. Sword. B. Bow and arrow. C. Slingshot. D. Nerf gun. The correct answer is C. Slingshot. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 49. The text is, "And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth." Here is the explanation. David opts for range and precision, not brute force melee. The sling was a legitimate battlefield weapon in the ancient Near East, capable of imparting lethal velocity. In gaming terms, David picks sniper over tank, and it's the perfect counter to heavy armor that leaves the forehead exposed. The theological punchline: salvation doesn't arrive through conventional hardware, but through faith-driven skill steward from humble shepherding. Question 4. How many stones did David pick up? A. 1. B. 3. C. 5. D. 10. The correct answer is C. 5. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 40. The text is, And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. Here is the explanation. 5 stones doesn't mean 5 shots. David's confidence is sky high, yet he's practically prepared. Classic faith plus wisdom combo. Smooth stones fly truer, and a shepherd would know exactly what works under pressure. This moment foreshadows a surgical strike. 1 stone, 1 giant, and the whole narrative flips from fear to victory. Question 5. Who mocked David before the fight? A. Saul. B. His brothers.
C. Goliath.
D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. All of the above. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verses 28 and 43. The text is, "And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why camest thou down hither? And the Philistines said unto David, Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods." Here is the explanation. David gets doubted in stereo. Eliab reads him as a glory chaser. Saul questions his capability, and Goliath ridicules his sticks. The comedy is that every authority figure misjudges the kid until he turns the battlefield into a faith lesson. It's a timeless Gen Z mood, underestimated, yet over-delivering. The narrative invites viewers to reevaluate credentials versus calling. Question 6. What did Saul offer David? A. His armor. B. A sword. C. A motivational speech.
D. A TikTok shootout.
The correct answer is A. His armor. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 38. The text is, "And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail." Here is the explanation. Saul tries to retrofit David into the standard warrior template. But David knows that borrowed gear isn't the same as proven skill. The offer matters. It shows political goodwill, but David's refusal becomes a design choice. Agility over heavy protection. It's like turning down a meta loadout because you've mastered a niche setup. Question 7. What was Goliath's reaction to David? A. Respectful. B. Laughing. C. Angry.
D. Terrified.
The correct answer is C. Angry. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 42. The text is, "And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance." Here is the explanation. Disdain is the default setting for bullies. Goliath reads David's youth and fresh-faced look as weakness, not realizing he's up against talent plus divine backing. The irony is cinematic. The giant's pride blinds him to the only exposed weak spot he's carrying, his forehead. Question 8. What did David announce before the fight? A. Let's do this. B. The battle is the Lord's.
C. I'm scared.
D. Where's the exit? The correct answer is B. The battle is the Lord's. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 47. The text is, "And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." Here is the explanation. David reframes the confrontation as a theological demonstration. Victory won't be a flex of gear, but of God. This is the narrative's thesis statement and the energy behind David's fearlessness. It's the equivalent of saying, "This isn't about me. Watch what God does." Question 9. Where did the stone hit Goliath?
A. Chest.
B. Forehead.
C. Knee. D. Shoulder.
The correct answer is B. Forehead. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verses 49 to 50. The text is, "And David smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stones sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him." Here is the explanation. Armor covers a lot, but helmets often left the forehead exposed for visibility. David's shot is both tactical and symbolic, aimed at the mind of intimidation. In one moment, the narrative flips. The terrifying face becomes face down in the dust. Question 10. What happened immediately after Goliath fell? A. David danced. B. David ran away. C. David prayed. D. David cut off his head. The correct answer is D. David cut off his head. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 51. The text is, "Therefore David ran, and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled." Here is the explanation. It's a grim, decisive end. Ancient warfare wasn't squeamish. The beheading is both proof of victory and psychological warfare. The sight triggers a mass retreat. It underscores that David's courage extends beyond the shot. He closes the fight with battlefield composure. Question 11. Why did David refuse Saul's armor? A. Too heavy. B. Out of fashion. C. Didn't trust Saul.
D. Préfère Gucci.
The correct answer is A. Too heavy. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 39. The text is, "And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him." Here is the explanation. David's refusal is about familiarity and function. He hasn't tested the gear. Heavy kit reduces his agility, and his slinging skill depends on free movement. This is a lesson in using what you've mastered rather than chasing optics. Sometimes the best upgrade is sticking to what actually works. Question 12. What reward did Saul promise for killing Goliath? A. Gold. B. His daughter in marriage. C. Tax exemption. D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. All of the above. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 25. The text is, "And the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be, that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel." Here is the explanation. Saul dangles wealth, royal marriage, and tax freedom. Peak incentive package. The stakes are national morale and dynastic alignment. David's victory will reposition him socially and politically, foreshadowing his rise. Also, tax exemption? That'll motivate any generation. Question 13. What was Goliath's armor made of, as described in KJV? A. Iron. B. Brass. C. Gold.
D. Leder.
The correct answer is B. Brass. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 5. The text is, "And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass." Here is the explanation. KJV uses brass, where modern translations often say bronze. Either way, the picture is a heavy, shimmering suit meant to intimidate and protect. The visual is almost theatrical, a gleaming tank of a man. Yet even tanks have weak points. Cue the exposed forehead. Question 14. Who carried Goliath's shield? A. Goliath himself. B. Saul. C. his servant, shield bearer. D. No one. The correct answer is C. His servant, shield bearer. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17, verse 7. The text is, "And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him." Here is the explanation. Goliath marches like a VIP with a dedicated shield bearer, standard for elite champions. It signals status and tactical layering. The shield bearer screams and supports the main fighter. The entrance screams boss level and sets up the underdog spectacle when David shows up alone with a sling. Question 15. What did David do before going to fight?
A. Took a nap.
B. Picked stones. C. Ate lunch. D. Posted on TikTok. The correct answer is B. Picked stones. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17, verse 40. The text is, "And he chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine." Here is the explanation. This is the pre-fight ritual of a pro. Select the right ammo. Smooth stones reduce air resistance and improve accuracy. Shepherding wasn't just cuddling lambs. Predator control honed David's range skill set. Preparation meets faith, and the result is surgical. Question 16. What was David's profession before the fight? A. Shepherd. B. Soldier. C. Farmer.
D. Carpenter.
The correct answer is A. Shepherd. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17, verse 15. The text is, "But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem." Here is the explanation. David toggles between Saul's court and shepherding, but his core identity here is caretaker of sheep. That job builds the exact muscles the story needs: vigilance, courage, and the ability to fight off predators with improvised weapons. His pastoral day job becomes battlefield qualifications. Question 17. What did Goliath use to intimidate Israel? A. His height. B. His armor. C. His words. D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. All of the above. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17, verses 8 to 10. The text is, "And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array?
A.
Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together." Here is the explanation. Goliath deploys the full intimidation toolkit: size, gear, and smack talk. Here he frames the war as single combat, psychological warfare to paralyze a nation. The text makes his voice and presence feel like a daily storm the army endures until David reframes the battle as God's. Question 18. How long did Goliath challenge Israel? A. 40 days. B. 7 days. C. 3 months. D. 1 year. The correct answer is A. 40 days. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17, verse 16. The text is, "And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days. Here is the explanation. 40 days, biblically loaded number signaling testing, think flood, wilderness, etc. The repetition wears down morale. Into this grind walks David, who interrupts the cycle with faith-driven action. It's the contrast between paralysis by fear and movement by trust. Question 19. What did David use as a weapon after Goliath fell? A. His sling. B. A rock. C. A stick.
D. Goliath's sword.
The correct answer is D. Goliath's sword. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 51. The text is, "Therefore David ran, and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith." Here is the explanation. David upgrades mid-battle, using the fallen giant's own weapon to finish the job. It's poetic justice. The instrument of intimidation becomes the proof of defeat. Also, it shows battlefield adaptability. David isn't just a one-trick sling user. He's decisive under pressure. Question 20. Where did David keep his stones? A. His pocket. B. His shepherd's bag, scrip. C. His hat. D. His sandals. The correct answer is B. His shepherd's bag, scrip. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 40. The text is, "And he put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine." Here is the explanation. The scrip is a simple pouch, a practical EDC, everyday carry for a shepherd. The minimal gear underscores the theme. It's not about shiny equipment, but practice, skill, and reliance on God. David carries just enough to do the job well. Question 21. How much did Goliath's coat of mail weigh? A. 50 pounds. B. 100 pounds. C. 125 pounds. D. Enough to crush your gym goals. The correct answer is C. 125 pounds. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 5. The text is, "And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass." Here is the explanation. 5,000 shekels translates to roughly 125 pounds, depending on the shekel weight used. That's a walking tank. The narrative paints Goliath as maximum hardware, so when David wins with a single stone, it magnifies the mismatch between human intimidation and divine deliverance. Question 22. What was the weight of Goliath's spearhead? A. 15 pounds. B. 25 pounds. C. 35 pounds. D. 50 pounds. The correct answer is A. 15 pounds. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 7. The text is, "And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him." Here is the explanation. 600 shekels lands around 15 pounds for the iron head, like throwing a mini bowling ball on a beam. Goliath's loadout is intimidating by design, crafted to demoralize on sight and sound. David's slingshot counters with physics and precision. Question 23. From which tribe was David? A. Judah. B. Benjamin. C. Levi.
D. Dan.
The correct answer is A. Judah. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 12. The text is, "Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons, and the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul." Here is the explanation. David's roots in Judah are key, the tribe tied to kingship and the messianic line. The battlefield moment isn't isolated. It threads into Israel's larger story of leadership, covenant, and promise. Underdog victory today, royal trajectory tomorrow. Question 24. What animals did David say he had killed while shepherding? A. A wolf. B. A lion and a bear. C. A giant. D. A dragon. The correct answer is B. A lion and a bear. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verses 34 to 36. The text is, And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them. Here is the explanation. David isn't improvising bravery. He's scaling it. Predator control under pressure is his training ground. The comparison, Philistine as just another predator, reframes the giant as a solvable problem, not an existential threat. It's faith with receipts. Question 25. By what did Goliath curse David? A. His gods. B. His sword. C. His army. D. His sandals. The correct answer is A. His gods, you can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 43. The text is, And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Here is the explanation. Goliath escalates the fight spiritually, invoking his deities as part of psychological warfare. David counters not with a counter curse, but with covenant faith, invoking the Lord of hosts. The clash becomes a test of loyalties and ultimate authority. Question 26. What was David's main defense? A. Faith. B. Armor. C. Speed. D. Luck. The correct answer is A. Faith. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 45. The text is, Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. Here is the explanation. David brings the covenant name of God into the arena. It's not bravado, but anchored identity. He represents the God whose reputation Goliath has been insulting. Speed and skill matter, but the narrative's emphasis is that faith frames the courage and the outcome. Question 27. What did the Philistines do when Goliath died? A. Surrendered. B. Fled. C. Fought harder. D. Threw a party. The correct answer is B. Fled. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 51. The text is, And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. Here is the explanation. The single combat bet backfires spectacularly. With their champion down, the morale collapse is immediate. The Israelites chase, turning one duel into a rout. It's battlefield psychology 101. Remove the symbol of invincibility and fear flips sides. Question 28. Where did David take Goliath's head? A. Egypt. B. Bethlehem. C. Hebron. D. Jerusalem. The correct answer is D. Jerusalem. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 54. The text is, And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. Here is the explanation. Jerusalem isn't yet Israel's political capital under David, so this act reads as a symbolic projection of future authority. Trophy transport is grisly by modern standards, but was a public statement in ancient warfare, proof, warning, and narrative control. Question 29. How does the text describe David's age status in the episode? A. Youth. B. Elder. C. Middle-aged. D. Infant. The correct answer is a youth. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 33. The text is, And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. Here is the explanation. The text avoids a precise age, calling David a youth, while Goliath is framed as veteran from his youth. The contrast amplifies the improbability. Many readers infer teen years, but the key point is not a number, it's the mismatch of experience profiles. Question 30. What did David do with Goliath's weapons? A. Gave them to Saul.
B. Sold them.
C. Kept them as souvenirs. D. Burned them. The correct answer is C. Kept them as souvenirs. You can find them in 1 Samuel 17 verse 54. The text is, "And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent." Here is the explanation. David stores the giant's gear, a personal trophy and likely a reminder of God's deliverance. In narrative terms, it cements the reversal. The boy who arrived as a courier now curates the champion's hardware.
And that's a wrap on the Ultimate Bible Showdown. How many did you get right? Drop your score in the comments and tell us which question blew your mind. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss our next quiz. See you next time.